Today, we're diving into a really powerful sermon that asks a pretty deep question. What does it actually mean to be so completely absorbed in your faith that, the rest of the world just kind of fades into the background? Let's get into it.
So, the source kicks things off with this really startling piece of advice. It suggests a level of devotion so intense that to anyone watching, it might actually look like a form of madness. But, and this is key, it's not about losing your mind. It's about finding your soul so completely that nothing else really matters.
So, what does this madness actually mean? Well, the sermon points us to a classical term, muskunter. Now, a similar word today might imply someone is being reckless, but its original meaning is all about being utterly engrossed, just completely captivated. It's a state of total, passionate absorption in your devotion.
And this isn't just some abstract idea. The sermon gives us a perfect example, pointing to historical figures like Saadoun, who was actually known as the madman. Get this, it wasn't an insult. It was a title of honor, a way of recognizing his profound focus on worship, like he was living in a world all his own.
Okay, so how do we even begin to wrap our heads around this kind of state? It can feel a little out there, almost unreachable. But the source material gives us this beautiful and honestly incredibly useful metaphor, thinking of the soul's journey as the flight of a bird.
So just picture it. Your spiritual self is a bird, and for this bird to fly straight and true, to reach its destination, every single part has to work in perfect harmony. If any one piece is off, the whole journey is in jeopardy. And here's the anatomy of our soul bird. The head, which guides its direction, is love. Your love for the divine sets the entire course. But, obviously, to fly you need wings. The right wing is fear, and we're not talking about terror, but a kind of reverent awe that keeps you from going astray. And the left wing? That's hope, which gives you lift and saves you from crash.
So if love is the head, steering the whole operation, then the wings of fear and hope are what make the flight even possible. But here is the absolute key. They have to be in perfect balance. Too much of one, and that bird is just going to spiral right out of the sky.
And you can see that essential tension right here. The sermon calls fear the stick that prods you along, keeping you on track. But hope is that powerful counterforce. It's the constant reminder of mercy. It's the updraft that catches you right when you feel like you're about to fall.
This brings up a really critical question, right? What happens if you get the balance wrong? What if that fear of judgment just becomes so heavy, so overwhelming, that it crushes your spirit and makes you feel completely hopeless? Can the bird still fly then? Well, the sermon tackles this head on.
Let's look at how this plays out in this incredible parable. So imagine a sinner on the day of judgment. His deeds are weighed, and he's condemned. As he's being led away, he just looks back one last time. He doesn't argue, he doesn't protest his sins. He just says, "This was not my expectation of you."
And this is the crucial part. In that final moment, his hope, his good expectation of mercy, was so incredibly powerful that it literally changed his fate. The divine response is just one of ultimate grace. I will not disappoint your expectation. At the end of the day, it was the strength of his wing of hope that saved him.
Okay, so we have love as our guide, and we have the wings of fear and hope in perfect balance. But what allows this bird to even get off the ground to begin with? The source points to one foundational secret, and it's all about understanding our own nature.
This whole thing starts with what the sermon calls spiritual poverty. Now, this has absolutely nothing to do with money. It's about recognizing our inherent state of need. It's knowing, deep down, that we are fundamentally dependent creatures.
This slide just lays it out so clearly. We are born poor, not knowing anything, not able to do anything on our own. Everything we have, everything we are, our sight, our hearing, our intellect, is described as a gift that we've received. The divine, on the other hand, is inherently rich, completely self-sufficient, the source of everything, and in need of nothing. Really getting that's the true foundation of humility.
And to make this super concrete, the speaker tells this story about a proud engineer who's demanding to be called by his professional title. And the response is so simple but so profound. Were you born an engineer? No. Your intellect, the very thing that makes you an engineer, was a gift you were given. It completely reframes achievement, not as something to be proud of, but as a blessing to be grateful for.
So, when all of these pieces finally click into place, you have the love that guides, the balanced wings of fear and hope, and that solid foundation of humility. What's the result? Well, it's not just a set of beliefs. It's a totally transformed state of being. It's the destination of the soul bird's flight.
The sermon points to the ultimate example of this awakened state. It describes the Prophet Muhammad by saying that his eyes would sleep, but his heart was always awake. This represents a state of constant, unwavering awareness, a connection so deep it goes beyond the body's physical needs.
And this brings us right back to the beginning. This spiritual state has a physical echo. The sermon says that when the soul is light, the body actually feels light. You know that feeling when you're so overcome with joy you say, "I feel like I could fly"? That's not just a saying. It's the physical sensation of an unburdened, joyful, and truly awake spirit.
And so, this whole explainer doesn't leave us with some neat little conclusion. Instead, it leaves us with a deeply personal and pretty provocative question. After exploring the love that guides, the wings that give us balance, and the humility that keeps us grounded, the final thought is turned inward. It asks us to look at ourselves and consider, quite simply, is your heart awake?